We have some fun names on the waiver wire. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Thursday, June 15th. I am Frank Sanford, joined by Chris Towers, and let's talk about some waiver wire pitchers. Garrett Whitlock, 2 great starts in a row. This one up against the Rockies, 7 innings of 2-run ball with 7 strikeouts and 17 swinging strikes. Ranger Suarez, 4 straight quality starts. He was at the Diamondbacks through 7 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts there. And Reid Detmers at Texas, really tough place to pitch. 6 innings of 1-run ball, 8 strikeouts, and 15 swinging strikes for him. Towers, how would you rank that group? Reid Detmers, Ranger Suarez, and Garrett Whitlock.
It's still going to be Reid Detmers at the top. I know he's had a lot of struggles this season, but I remain a believer. You know, the sliders are really good pitch. The fastball gets a lot of whiffs. I think there are just some tweaks that he has to make to get better results. And, you know, we saw pretty good ones today. I really like Garrett Whitlock as well, so he's going to be number 2. You know, obviously health has been an issue. Consistency has especially been an issue this season when he's been healthy enough to pitch. But there was some interesting changes that he made today where the fastball velocity was up a little bit, the changeup was down a little bit, and it was also getting a little more drop. And so that, you know, led to, I believe, 9 swinging strikes for him with that pitch, and then he had 6 on the sweeper as well. And so more of the changeup and whatever changes that he might have made to that, more of the sweeper, I think that's good things for Garrett Whitlock. And then Ranger Suarez, I mean, I pick Detmers and Whitlock ahead of Suarez just because I think they have more upside, but if you're asking me who's more likely to post a sub-4 ERA the rest of the season, I think it's probably Ranger Suarez. You know, we've seen him do it before. We've seen him be a very good pitcher before. And, you know, when he's healthy now that he is, you know, I don't think he has ace upside, but I think he can be a very, very reliable pitcher.
Mm-hmm. And I agree that Reid Detmers, if you're just looking at long-term upside throughout the course of the season, I agree Detmers is at the top of the list. If you're just looking at next week, Whitlock and Ranger Suarez both look like they're in line for 2 starts, so I would be looking to add those again if you need help immediately. One name that you might be able to drop for this group, Drew Smyly. He gave up 5 runs over 6 innings pitched, and over his last 4 starts, he has a 6.04 ERA and a 1.75 WHIP. Still 78% rostered. Chris, would you be okay dropping Drew Smyly for any of those names?
Absolutely. I've not really believed in Drew Smyly at any point this season, so him coming back down to earth is not particularly surprising to me.
Let's talk about some waiver wire hitters. Yesterday, Scott and I spoke about Luis Matos getting called up by the Giants. He made his debut up against a lefty on the mound in Jordan Montgomery. Matos went 1 for 3 with a single and a run scored. He was pinch hit for by Michael Conforto in the 7th inning, going up against a right-handed pitcher at the time. And Chris, do we need to pump the brakes a little bit on Luis Matos? Because if this is any indication, it seems like maybe he won't play every day against right-handed pitching, at least not at first.
And this is kind of just a Giants issue. What's actually especially tough about them is not just that they use a lot of different guys and they don't necessarily have a ton of everyday players, but it's also not always righty-lefty splits. They do a lot of matchup-based stuff based on the type of pitcher and the arm angle. They take a lot into account, and it's, you know, helped them maximize their offense the past couple of seasons, but it's also made it tough to trust a lot of guys. So I do worry a little bit that Luis Matos might be, you know, not just a lefty-only guy, but not necessarily an everyday guy. So certainly in your shallower leagues, you know, 10-team especially, I don't think he's worth adding yet, but I still think in any 12-team league, and especially 5 outfielders, it's worth the flyer just to see if he gets hot, because the contact-heavy skill set, he has some pop, he's got some speed. It could be a profile that really, you know, has a lot of fantasy value.
Let's wrap up by talking about Jake Berger, who went 2 for 5 with a double dong. He's now up to 15 home runs in just 174 plate appearances. He has a 350 ISO on the season, and if he qualified, that would be second best in all of baseball. Has started 6 straight games for the White Sox. Chris, I think there's still some doubts about playing time moving forward, but if you need a power bat, based on the advanced metrics here, Jake Berger profiles like someone that could provide 40-plus home runs.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of 3 players who's hit more a batted ball harder than 118 miles per hour this season. And it's not like this is a new thing. You know, he was a pretty productive hitter last season, 51 games, 8 home runs, 761 OPS. Not as good as what he's done this season, but overall his major league track record is about a 30 homer pace over 162 games. Like you said, it's just a question of, are the White Sox going to trust him for that? They treat him kind of like a platoon player where they guard him against righties at times. I don't really think it makes sense. He's got a 770 OPS against righties. He strikes out a lot, but you can live with that when you're, a potential 30 homer guy. So I would like to see them play him more. And, if he's available and you need some pop, I think it's worth adding him just in case they do decide to start playing him more regularly.
As you mentioned with the strikeouts, Jake Burger might not be the best in a points league, 32% strikeout rate and just a 5% walk rate this season. But in any type of categories league where you need power, I think you absolutely should look to add Jake Burger. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.